Ukraine, the states of the future democratic world. Recently, the struggle between democracy and authoritarianism has been particularly noticeable. Many examples can be given that testify to the imperfection of both these systems. Authoritarianism has certain advantages in the speed of decision-making discipline. The disadvantages of an authoritarian system are the fast depletion of human resources due to violence and exploitation, as well as the likelihood of making erroneous decisions due to exclusion to the broad masses of the population from governing the state. Some large authoritarian states try to capture and subjugate surrounding peoples in order to use these people for further territorial and human expansion and exploitation. That is why large totalitarian countries need constant force. Democracy is characterized by slowness in decision-making. At the same time, decisions in democratic system are more balanced and correct. Democracy values people more, as a result of which it defeats totalitarianism and autocracy in the long run. Democracy is not a panacea for dictatorships. Sometimes dictatorial regimes arise on the basis of democratic structures. Sometimes totalitarian systems rely on the majority of the population. If the basis of their worldview is made up far-fetched ideological schemes, then the dictator himself becomes a hostage of such an ideological system. The important example of the struggle between democracy and authoritarianism is the war that taking place between Ukraine and the Russian Federation. A feature of this war, it is territorial nature, is its terrorist nature on the part of the Russian Federation. In addition to military action, the Russian Federation also uses deception, intimidation, bribery, hostage-taking, attacks on computer networks and information systems, the use of toxic substances, attacks on infrastructure and power grids, spreading panic among the population, propaganda, recruiting agents, and other hybrid methods. Often, its own population also becomes the victim of such actions. Interestingly, at present this struggle has basically nothing to do with blood relation between people. Try to research your full genealogy. You will reach your fourth generation and you will be lost. So intricate is the path of genetic mixing. So is the path of genetic mixing between peoples. More important is the spiritual transmission between generations and civilization. All large powers become dangerous if they significantly outnumber smaller ones according to their size, especially when authoritarian leadership is introduced in them. Some empires were the Han Empire, the Persian Empire, the Roman Empire, the Golden Horde, the Macedonian state, More recently, such were Russian, British, French, Spanish, Austro-Hungarian, Turkish, and Japanese empires. The People's Republic of China remained such. Some empires ceased to exist as a result of wars, some disintegrated on their own. The British and French Empire decided to dissolve voluntarily. The Russian one remained, as it were in the form of a voluntary union, which remained voluntary only in name. The USA is a special empire because in it each state enjoys significant rights. That is why it would be good if all great powers formed structural units that would enjoy significant rights. When there were difficult periods in the life of the state, they tried to put a dictator in power who was supposedly honest and the most intelligent. But the dictator became corrupt, seized all the power, and dictated his will in his own interests, and even cruelly dealt with the citizen of the state. If we cannot avoid spiritual evolution, since it is the law of existence inherent in the very nature of the development of humanity, then we must avoid such terrible and savage manifestation and phenomena of it as wars, genocide, terrorism, and crime. As a rule, each spiritual type of person has a separate spiritual teachings, religion, worldview, etc. For example, Christianity, Islam, Buddhism, Judaism, free society, communist civilization, other less noticeable cultures. Different civilizations and cultures have tried to improve their society with the help of different ideological canons. The latest to emerge is the culture that calls itself the free world. A free society has now best reconciled different cultures on one territory, freedom of religion and worldview, free transfer of information, human rights, social guarantees, and fairly developed gender emancipation have led to the fact that the states of the free world have already gotten rid of the internecine wars that haunted these countries in the past. All this has opened the way to a prosperous life. The civilization that calls itself free has achieved its best flourishing in the present time, but in the future, its fundamental rights and freedom will not be able to resolve contradiction within the framework of this principle that will arise as a result of their insufficiency. The free world will never completely overcome terrorism, crime, violation of treaties, the wide gap between rich and poor, deception, and low moral value in families. In the society of modern people, social and family problems, issues of security, freedoms, and happiness will be solved, which cannot be solved in the so-called free society. Weaker civilizations and culture, unable to resist in open struggle, but wanted to achieve past prosperity, resort to covert means of confrontation. Terrorism is especially dangerous. So, both autocratic states and democratic ones have a lot of shortcomings that need to be overcome in the future. I think it's time build a new state that will be different from both the democratic and autocratic models. How can such a state in the future of differ from those that already exist? I will try to explain. In every state, there should be an elite category of people who are ready to work for the state, protect it, manage it, take responsibility for it. And this elite category should not enjoy any privileges, work and live in the usual legal field. Ukraine, due to the long absence of true independence, has constantly lost its leading elite. It is nice that a whole series of leaders has appeared and is growing in Ukraine. Only that states will live long and prosper, which will have its own numerous and educated elite. Second, it is necessary to eliminate the huge gap between the wealth of certain categories of people and the average level of prosperity of all citizens. It is necessary to ensure that every person who enters life should have the same starting conditions for their development. The block describing the prosperity of everyone, good will come, has developed fair, only real and effective methods that will prevent the excessive enrichment of millionaires. Third, to introduce the solidarity responsibility that will be needed to prevent terrorism and serious crime. Solidarity responsibility will become the basis of the new culture, the new civilization. A civilization with solidarity responsibility will continue spiritual evolution in the struggle for a happy existence without wars, genocide, terrorism, crime, deception, and moral decline. Fourth, all citizens in the state have the right to privately own a certain free plot of land, if they do not use similar plots that are already in their use. If a citizen has acquired the ability and double his land ownership, he must return to the state the market values of the land or the land itself, provided to him free of charge. If population growth increases, the minimum standards should be revised. Additional land for this purpose can be bought by the state and given to each citizen. All of us, the people of the state, including children, have the right to own a certain free plot of land, including those who are punished for committing illegal acts. Half of the entire territory, which is not common, can be divided free of charge between citizens who have not acquired another plot of land of their own. The world is developing dynamically. Sometimes it is necessary to make cardinal changes. Issues of borders, self-determination of territories, changes in language policy, religious issues, etc., are best put to referendums. A simple majority decisions is an unstable equilibrium and always causes sharp opposition. To avoid this, it is necessary to make decisions by a significant majority of 2/3 of the votes, no less. And that's not enough. Decisions should take effect after a certain period of time to give the minority and the majority a chance to get used to the oncoming changes. People should compete and convince each other, not physically fight each other. As a result of these processes, territories will be formed, and from them a state will arise. The state is built on laws, on those laws that will not be established by individuals, but those that have been discovered, physical and spiritual laws. In Alaska, a plane buzzed so loudly that it was heard in Moscow. The decisive struggle between democracy and authoritarianism began. Thank you for your attention. Please subscribe to my blogs. You will receive more and more new information.